These are the examples for Geometry B, Credit 1 lesson. It's a combined lesson, 2 lessons in one, 2 for 1 special, lessons 9-1 and 9-2. All right, lesson 9-1 and 9-2, excuse me, we're introducing parallelograms. And so the first thing you're going to be asked about, and this is our example for problem number 1, is some facts about parallelograms. So we're going to give you a few facts about parallelograms. On number 1 there, it says circle the letter of each true statement for all parallelograms. So there are some facts, and we're going to see this in the upcoming lessons, that are only true for certain parallelograms. But right now, we're talking about what statements or what facts are facts about all parallelograms. All right, so we have a parallelogram up here on the board, or an example of one. And for number 1, by the way, it says each true statement. For number 1, you're going to circle, there will be 3 correct answers. So there's 3 letters that you will circle there on number 1. All right, so first thing about parallelogram is, first fact is that opposite sides are parallel. And so we indicate this with the arrows. So remember, parallel means the 2 sides will always be the same distance apart. So it doesn't matter if we measure here or here, that distance is the same. So these 2 sides are parallel. So opposite sides are parallel. And then these 2 sides would be parallel as well. And we indicate that with the double arrow. So opposite sides here and here are parallel. Next fact is that opposite sides are also congruent. So opposite sides are congruent. Congruent, remember, is just a fancy way of saying they have the same measurement or same length. So this side and this side would be congruent, have the same length. So for example, if this was 10 inches, this would also be 10 inches. And then same thing over here, this side and this side would have the same length. So if this was 7 inches, this would be 7 inches. All right, now our our next fact, opposite angles are congruent. So let's go ahead and write that. Opposite angles are congruent. And so that means the angles that are opposite one another are congruent. And we're going to show that with the curved tick marks. We have an angle here and an angle here. Remember, an angle, we have 2 sides, and that creates this opening here as an angle. So the opposite angles are congruent here, and then also this pair of opposite angles would be congruent as well. All right. What else? Next fact, there we go, is that the diagonals, and we'll explain what a diagonal is in a second, the diagonals bisect each other. So we got a couple of words there, diagonals and bisect. So first of all, what is a diagonal? And maybe let's do this with a different color. So the diagonals connect the opposite vertices, the opposite corners of the parallelogram. So that would be one diagonal, and this would be another diagonal. So the diagonals bisect each other, which means these 2 pieces would be equal or congruent. And then also these 2 pieces would be equal or congruent. And so the diagonals bisect each other. And there's a couple other facts we're just going to mention. We're not going to put them up here because it's worth mentioning, but it's not relevant to the question you're going to answer. But just real quick, a couple other facts. Consecutive angles. So remember, we talked about opposite angles are congruent. Consecutive angles are supplementary. So we're just going to mention that. And then another thing is if one angle, we're going to see this in an upcoming lesson, if one angle in a parallelogram is a right angle, then all of them have to be right angles in order to be a parallelogram. But for number 1, these are the facts you need. 3 of these will be up there. 3 of these facts will be listed there on number 1. There's a bonus fact up here. And so for number 1, you will circle the 3 correct answers. All right, so that is it for number one. Let's take a look at an example. This next example will be for problems 2 and 3. And let's go ahead and erase that. We know we're dealing with parallelograms. So let's take a look at this here. So let's go ahead and actually draw this in the middle. And let's go back to the pen. And let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to have a parallelogram. Now, just to kind of point out that these parallelograms can look differently. And let's make this a little, I think that's a little bit off. Is that better? Yeah, I think that's a little better. And so what we're going to be told is that this angle here has a measure of 12x minus 15. And this angle down here has a measure of 11x minus 7. And by the way, again, we're going to be given that this is a parallelogram. Over here, we have 15x minus 11. And then over here, we have 11x plus 10. And these are side lengths. So again, these measures in here refer to angles. These refer to side lengths. All right, so let's take a look at here. Let's see how we're going to name our, let's call this parallelogram EFGH. And our example for 2 and 3 is they want us to find, let's see, let's start with, let's see, make sure we got the right one here. Yeah, we'll start, we're going to find the measure of angle E. So the measure of angle E. And so that's the symbol, measure of angle E. So first of all, in order to find the measure of angle E, we need to know what X is. And so fortunately, we have the expressions for both opposite angles here. And remember, opposite angles are congruent. So the expression for E is 12x minus 15. And the expression for the opposite angle, angle G, is 11x minus 7. And so since opposite angles are congruent or have equal measure, we can set those expressions equal to one another. All right, we have variables on both sides. So 12x and 11x. 11x is smaller, so let's subtract that to both sides. Remember, when we have variables on both sides, we don't want variables on both sides. So we're going to get rid of one of them. So that goes away. 12 minus 11 is 1x, or just x. Excuse me, minus 15 equals negative 7. Our final step to solve for x, second and final step, we're focused on the left-hand side because that's where x is. We have a minus 15, so we're going to add 15 to both sides. And the 15s cancel. We bring down the x. Here, the signs of the two numbers are different, so we subtract. 15 minus 7 is 8. The larger number is positive, so x is positive 8. Now, that's not your final answer. Remember, we're being asked to find the measure of angle E, but that's part of what we need to find, x, because now that we know what x is, we can solve for angle E. By the way, we're going to use a different variable here. I just realized that. We'll use y for these. So we'll fix that. There we go. Okay, so now to find the measure of angle E, we take the expression for E, which is the 12x minus 15, and then we're just going to substitute 8 in for x. So we have 12 times 8 is 96, and then 96 minus 15 is 81. So the measure of angle E would be 81. And this is an angle, so that'll be in degrees. So the measure of angle E would be 81 degrees. So again, a lot of times we get the question like, well, what's our answer? Well, we really have two answers because the main answer, our final answer, is the measure of angle E, which is because that's what we're being asked to find. And that was 81 degrees. But in order to do that, we did have to solve for x. And so two answers that are important here, x equals 8, but then our final answer, the measure of angle E, is 81 degrees. All right, so that example will help you out with problems 2 and 3. Problems 4 and 5, they're going to ask us to find a side length here. And we want to find the length of side FG. And so now, remember in a parallelogram, the opposite sides are congruent. So what side is opposite to FG? That would be EH. And so these sides are congruent. And so that's how we'll set up our equation. 15y minus 11 equals 11y plus 10. All right, so 15y minus 11 equals 11y plus 10. Again, variables on both sides of the equation. We don't want that. So we're going to get rid of the variable with the smaller coefficient. That's the 11, or I should say the term with the smaller coefficient. That would be the 11y. So we're going to subtract 11y to both sides. 15y minus 11y is 4y. Minus 11 equals 10. Of course, these cancel out. Now, y is over here on the left-hand side, so that's where our focus is. We have to get rid of this minus 11, and we have to get rid of the 4. So we'll start always with our addition and subtraction. The opposite of subtracting 11 is to add 11 to both sides. The 11s cancel, and we bring down the 4y. Over here, 10 plus, oh, you know what? I just realized we made a little mistake here, what we wanted to have here. So actually, this should be a 14. By the way, this is a good example of how we can fix things without having to redo everything. So that should be 14, which means we added 14 to both sides, and the 14s cancel there. There we go. All right, so now we have 10 plus, and notice how quickly that was fixed without having to erase everything. So we saw what that should have been 14. That's what I meant, what I wanted to put there. And so I change it here, and I only change what that affects. So I brought it down, nothing else happened. And instead of, this should be adding 14, so they cancel. So we're good. 10 and 14 is 24. Y is being multiplied by 4, so we divide 4 to both sides. 24 divided by 4 gives us 6. So y is 6. But once again, that's not our final answer because they're asking us to find the length of FG. FG, the expression is 11y plus 10. And so we're going to substitute the 6. Remember, y is 6, so we're going to substitute that in for y. 11 times 6 is 66. And then plus 10 is 76. Make sure we can see that okay. All right, so the length of side FG would be 76. So again, two parts really to the answer. Y is 6, and then the length of FG would be 76. All right, that is it for that one, and that is it for a lesson, the combined lesson, 9.1 and 9.2, our introduction to parallelograms, and even a little bonus here on how you can easily correct an error if you accidentally write something down incorrectly without having to start over again. All right, so that's it for this lesson. The examples, again, pause, rewind the video. Good luck with the work, and until the next video, take care and God bless.